Hola, uff. Me toca es como ir a traer tu ropa. Vamos a mirar si ya me escuchas. Es que igual no quiero que me escuches. Necesito que me se escuche el teclado.
A ver.
Hola. No, no, pues ahí tienes que atrasarlo, creo.
Atrás.
Adelantarlo, porque mira, yo no estoy jugando. Y a ti te aparece.
Hablar.
Hola, hola. Espera, déjalo ahí, déjame un momentico. Creo que ya se escuchó el teclado. Creo que se escuchó el teclado. Déjelo un momentico, cuidado, deja su TikTok a un lado, hermana. Se va a escuchar ese gancho. Sí, ya se escucha. ¿Ya? Y te vas a escuchar el gallo. Te regañé en directo. Bajo. No, qué perro. No, qué tiro. Ah, tú eras el que tenía mi escopeta. Tu casa. todo. Uy, qué hijo de puta, qué arma de mierda es esa. Uy, alcancé a salir. No, mano. No, 1, 2, 3, 4. No. What? Dios. Papá. 13 kills, vamos ya. Sean 2 personas. Ah, este marica me mató con mi cosita, mi arma. GG.
¿Quieres?
No. Ahí le ganó este. Moña, ¿va? Slow.
Para evitar que
No, la policía.
Welcome back to the FNCS Europe Major 3 Finals. If you've just joined us, congratulations. You've joined us at the right time. Any later, it would have been too late because we have got to break down some very hot action from the last game. But we also got to talk about Fredoxy because his trio is now looking so firmly like the front horse race winner, I should say. The trio that might take this major. No more second place for this trio because right now they are solidifying their domination at the top, Miniminer.
Yeah, a huge performance from these guys. I mean, it was a game that they had to do well in, of course, which I'm sure we'll go into later on about Vico's team, but it had to be a good one. It had to be a solid performance, and oh boy, did they do just that. Third place, 8 eliminations. They went for height as well here and did really well to hold on to it. I think Fredoxy at the end here, Levin, did a really great job of just squeezing out as many placement points as he possibly could. Just a fantastic performance. And look at that, man. I mean, how does he do that? It just shows why they belong at the top.
So we're looking at the standings and oh my goodness, things have really changed at the top. It might not look like they have, but if you look at that points difference between Tino and Vico, you can start to understand what I mean. And the big difference maker here wasn't either of these two trios. It was Malibuka, Ping and Wox, because they decided to change where they was dropping for the 3rd time on day 2 of the Major 3 Finals. And they decided to drop into the loot path of Vico, Venno and Flixie and take these guys by surprise, Miniminer.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what we wanted. It was very cheeky of them to do that, and the fact that they did it is absolutely insane. Of course, remember, last major, I think a lot of people will draw the comparisons to Vico, Venom, and Flixie actually landing on Malibuka, Ping, and Wox in day number 2. Remember, they were leading on that day, and I think a lot of people are going to see this as a revenge sort of play from Malibuka, Ping, and Wox. It's like, actually, you guys landed on us last season, now we're going to land on you. So a massive shift in that game particularly, and a massive shift in the leaderboard as well, because Vico, Venom, and Flixie couldn't get any points in that game.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see if this is going to play out in the remaining games of the Major 3 Finals. And I know that Flixie hit up Twitter. It's always interesting to see when these big players go down early in a game, just to see their emotional reactions, because they do tend to go and say it to the crowd. And Flixie was no different. He decided to tell the world about the situation from his point of view. I don't know if we do have that tweet to show you guys right now. But yeah, can you remember what it said, Levin?
Well, yeah, we did it to win.
Yes.
They're doing it for us to lose, and that's the statement from Flixie right there. Clearly feeling like this is not an ideal situation for them. Of course, Malibuka doing it for not the right reasons, but ultimately, I think Malibuka's team have to do something to change up, right? They're at the lower end of the leaderboard. They need to try and find something. They had a solid game in that particular game. There were moments where they were on height as well, looking pretty strong. Yeah. So whether they're now going to continue to land there, I'm not too sure. I just think you have to sympathize with Vico, Venom, and Flixie. Yeah. The fact that they're getting landed on there, so unfortunate for them. But we'll see how they respond.
I just need to clarify something. Miniminer actually made a birthday wish before the show started, and he wanted to be my favorite analyst. So what he's done is he's had a word with the guys in Denmark, and he's got them to cut Levin's audio. And that is why, even though I'm trying desperately to hear from my favorite analyst, we keep hearing from Miniminer instead. Just kidding, Mini. I love you both the same, and I love these guys too. Let's head back to Taco and Takata for Game 10.
One thing's for sure, Takata, after that Game 9 performance and outcome, tensions are rising, and that's exactly what you want. You want to see all of this kind of messiness, because it just makes it fun, man. It's the Major 3 Grand Finals. Day 2 is upon us, and we are about to find out in a couple of matches here now whether or not 4 new trios for the Global Championship and where they might be dropping, all that good stuff. But first, we have to make it through today's games, so let's go.
Absolute cinema is what we're witnessing here. Will it happen again? Malabuco with their surprise contest onto Vico, Veno, Flixi. This has been a year-long battle they've been having. Not only in the last major did Vico, Veno, Flixi do the opposite and surprise contest Malabuco, but even in Major 1, they were fighting for that first place spot. The back and forth between these trios never ends, not even in the final major of the year. So let's see here if it's going to happen once again, but it looks like things might potentially be safe.
Much more wary though. Vico, Veno, Flixi, it's obvious nobody is safe. Any and every loop path could be compromised depending on whether or not teams want to look to see if they can make a big play for themselves. To play a little bit of devil's advocate here, though, Takada, I know a lot of people usually say, hey, yeah, you just never contest a team that's already qualified to the Global Championship. What happens when it's two teams that are already qualified to the Global Championship, right? It's just, we know that there's prize pool money on the line, but at the same time, sometimes you just got to get a little bit of revenge in for some fun.
No, that's a good point. And hey, you never know what's going to happen at the Global Championship, right? You don't want to, continue fueling the fire on these battles when the biggest event of the year is coming soon. Malabuca pink walks, though. It looks like Kappa Kappa Factory is where they have decided to land.
They're kind of forcing Afrozi's team to also be a little bit more held on that outskirt portion, the eastern side of the map. But Ping, Malabuca walks. Last match, yeah, it's obviously not gonna, there's nothing they can do to throw themselves into, top 3 storylines by any means for Major 3 Grand Finals, Takada. But they could definitely still jump up placements. And Fadil, Volko, Cringe, not being contested at the Outpost Enclave, just tells me that they are going to be looking for a big match here because they need to lock in their spot for the Global Championship.
Yeah, I mean, currently not in qualifying range. 13th place is where they're sitting at. But to be fair, they're only about 18 points-ish outside of that qualifying threshold, so not too far at all. Doesn't even need to be a win. It could just be a decent match in the end game where you do better than your opponents above you. So it's definitely going to be quite possible here with how it's looking. Vico, Veno, Flixi could be in a world of trouble, though, with Fredoxy close by. Pablo already knocking on Flixi's box. Gotta be careful, as Chino's been cracked. Fredoxy looking quite low. Veno connecting nice shots. Will this play out as a full engagement, or are they going to be happy with the damage that has been done? Pablo, though, getting right into it.
Vico just getting pressured, sandwiched between 2 members out of Fredoxy's trio. Be forced to fall back entirely, but Pablo still looking to apply a little bit more of a threatening presence here. Vico finally misform out. And he is just clearing as much space as he can. Regather with Veno, but Flixi still stuck a little bit overhead. Brutal boxcars, Chino, Fredoxy, Pablo lurking. It seems like Veno's team is the one who decided to take matters into their own hands in Game 10 here, Takada. This has got to be Pablo, Fredoxy, and Chino looking to get the jump on them one more time, but Veno, Vico, and Flixi, they were ready. They were ready to defend this kind of early contest challenge.
Yeah, they're not going to make it easy for them. This could be a game, well, tournament-winning fight for Chino, Pablo, and Fredoxy. If they're able to clean up their second-place trio again in an early game. As the shot comes through from Flixi. No cracks, though, nothing big, as Pablo's going to play a bit defensive here. The longer they take, the riskier it gets. The mats are running low. Chino has no more builds. Going to take the safe option to misform out, but Fredoxy has been eliminated. Leaving Vico, Veno, Flixi with the upper hand.
But that's all that Veno, Vico, Flixi needed. That one elimination onto Fredoxy. They can afford to camp his reboot card for as long as they want, because they'll have ample amounts of heals too to tank up early storm. And with the control of the Spire, Vico, Veno, Flixi, I mean, the world is their oyster right now. They're just trying to, keep ears to the ground, want to make sure that Pablo can't escape too freely, but Pablo, he might just be out of here. The surf cube. Good for mobility and nobody looking back. He picked his moment, and that might help out. If they can reboot for Doxy, there's always a chance for recovery.
100%. I don't know if that was the... I'm trying to think. You know, Pablo for Doxy Chino, they already have such an advantage. I mean, obviously, it would help significantly to knock out Vico and Flixie in the early game. But on the other hand, if they end up going down in the early game, it's almost outweighs, you know, how worth it actually is. Because if they both make endgame and both do a decent job, Doxy will still end up winning that long kind of battle for first. So definitely a risky play that they went for and did not quite go their way, but it could have been worse.
It's also kind of tough scenes there for Doxy. Vico winning that exchange with the twin fire shotgun. It's just tough. Happens to the best of us, though. Vanya, Pixie, Marius, Flooded Frogs. A little bit of a bloom battle. Good tags by Pixie, but Pixie also loses all of his shield immediately. Frogs and Lone Wolf Lair, though, bound to just continue staring each other down. But the zone means that Marius, Vanya, and Pixie, they can definitely afford to just hang out at their starting point, and they've already collected basically every healing resource into the center of their POI.
Now they're ready to go. Just like they have been in every single match. We talked about the importance of this match for Fadil, Volko, and Cringe. 18 points off that cutoff currently. All they really need is a solid endgame here. But for that, they're going to need enough damage, enough loot. They've already got a decent zone pull so far, but a long ways to go.
Kaiser's maybe a little bit stranded there. The void. Malabuka also off in the distance, but looking back into the action with Merstash, Queasy, and Swizzy. Rift Island. It's all the action right now. Mappy, Cheat, and Trexer just looking to prevent Merstash, Swizzy, and Queasy from having their way up on top of the Rift Island, but Merstash might just pounce in a moment here. He sees Queasy trying to take that challenge up against Trexer, but dropping a little bit of a flank here onto Trexer and Mappy, and Mappy incredibly low now. Lost all of his shield, and Swizzy just steady application, spraying down these walls. Trexer's still holding it for Mappy to try and pop that small shield potion, but this is not looking the best currently for Trexer, Mappy, and Cheatin', and given their position on the leaderboard, they may be better suited at just looking to retreat here. But Swizzy, that's a big shot that just connected, and he will immediately fall back. The hero rank up is going to be a little bit of a bailout, and now Merstash, that's his time to shine. He needs to give that coverage for Swizzy. So Merstash spearheading the charge there. It's going to mean that Cheatin', Mappy, Trexer still playing the defensive.
I'm not sure how I feel about this fight, though. You said it yourself. The last match knocked them out of qualifying range from the Global Championships. They're now 6 points away. So going down here will definitely be detrimental. Good shots have been connected on both sides, but is it really worth the risk? As Trexer gets knocked down, Sheeta now put into panic. His teammates been fully eliminated. Mappy gets cracked as well, as Queasy's looking to close this fight off.
It's all just crumbling right now for Mappy, Trexer, and Cheatin'. If at least one of them can manage to survive, but that's not going to be the case. Only Mappy has the chance to potentially scurry out of here, but it won't be presented to him. Swizzy, Queasy, Merstash, overwhelming. And the Battle of Rift Island now confidently in their favor, which means Swizzy, Queasy, Merstash, keep an eye out for them, Takata, because they'll have control of that medallion.
Oh yeah, good for them so far. Down to Kuzo. Not looking so good. Flixie gets almost knocked down, but does pick up that elimination. Siphon alongside it. Now bumped up to 3 elims. Looking strong as ever. We talked about it, the riskier the fight gets, the lower the HP they have, the more fuel it almost looks like they're running on. The stronger they get like a confidence buff when they're on the borderline of getting eliminated. But now at the 3v1, it should be a quick cleanup here. Get that last elimination. 4 on the board. Looking good for Vico, Veno, Flixie.
Tough break there for Dandapuzo's team, but Flixie, Vico, and Veno, here at the heart of Supernova Academy. They've basically infiltrated for Doxy's starting point ever since they got that early elimination. Probably knew that they could just keep kind of trailing teams that might be looking to play storm side positions. And Flixie, actually a monster. The way that he's just directly tackling Howley inside of the box. It's just what you would expect of a fighter of their caliber, a player of their caliber. But very, very obvious intentions out of Vico, Veno, Flixie that they don't want to allow for Doxy's team to have an opportunity to fall back to Supernova, even if they get the reboot off. They have lost the bulk of their resources that they collected at the start.
Ooh, a quick 3-2-1 maybe coming through, but they have been spotted. Rax, with a good eyesight, is going to be able to block off that initial shot, but Chino is actually going to be put to a bit of pressure as Doxy's been fully eliminated once again, leaving Chino and Pablo as a duo to close the rest of this fight out. Zangi trying to do what he can to stay up and recuperate that shield that has been lost, but the pressure from Pablo is not going to stop. Looking for a quick piece, trying to stay ahead of his opponent, but nothing big coming through it yet.
But even with the numbers advantage, Rags, Zangi, and Belusi are still giving so much respect towards Chino and Pablo Wingo, allowing them to kind of sit at the base of this gas station and heal up a little bit here. Fully in control of that vending machine too. And now Rax, Belusi, Zangi, they might continue to try and hold Pablo and Chino in Storm, but the damage has been done here, Takada. This fight has now forced Pablo, Chino, and Doxy to basically be sidelined in this lobby. They are at the mercy of teams that have had the luxury of being able to rotate before them, have had the luxury of being able to reboot before them, and just constantly playing a man down is going to make it so hard for them to recover for a solid late game push.
I mean, yeah, especially considering that Vico, Venom, Flixie are having a stellar performance right now. Already a good amount of elims and loot, even positioning, so you gotta be careful when they're competing. Kind of second place trio is looking as strong as they are, and with Zangi now wanting to play aggressive, it could get even worse for them. No big crack gonna come through yet, but Zangi not scared to jump right on in.
Zangi nearly got knocked a little bit stuck on that edit, but we'll manage to lap back around. Now Belusi and Rax gonna take over here. There has to be a conclusion now, though, for Pablo and Chino. They've used the bulk of their material. They are left with practically nothing, and Pablo just trying to disengage even further into Storm, but it's going to be of no use. Only Chino left. The odds of him making it towards Pablo's body, impossible. He's already been eliminated, and Chino hiding underneath stairs here from Zangi and Rax, Belusi. They're just destroying everything around them, trying to see if they can get Chino to just pop out. But Chino, he only has about 5 seconds left. He has to try and take a shot here. His HP is not going to last otherwise. But he won't even be able to make it in. It's just been held for entirely too long, and Zangi, Rax, Belusi, well played.
Sneaky play, dropping the shields before running up and getting eliminated. Do it. Everything you can. Now, it's going to be a little more than 100 points difference from Vico, Venom, Flixie, but one big win, just like they got in the first 2 matches back-to-back, will be more than enough to put them head-to-head with Doxy once again. This is gonna get interesting.
Ooh, focus. Not gonna win that left side peak exchange, but Upple might still be able to carry through. Upple can't get the job done for Strokey and Enkidoi. Hold fast at Shogun's Solitude. But one more time, Takada, these are teams that are very deep in Storm. And Storm Sickness, if that's not enough of a threat, you always have to worry about the teams that are already based up in better positions. And Vanya, Pixie, Matias, they are one of those teams coming out of Lone Wolf Lair.
There's a trio that is very consistent in the early to mid game. They're doing a good job constantly making it to those end games, but they've also had pretty good zones throughout the day, to be fair, you know, especially on day 2. But just closing out on those big matches in the end is kind of what they're lacking. They got a 2nd today, a 6th. One little hurdle with a 15th, but still definitely en route for a solid performance here.
All I'm saying is after that quick flash of the leaderboard, it is fair game right now for jumping into the top 5 here, Takada. There is ample opportunity to strike, and so many of these teams really trying to elevate their position as much as possible. We still have game 11 and 12 to work with, but if VIVO, Vico, and Flixie come up massive here, it would just be so painful for Roxy, Pablo, and Gino chasing their first FNCS Blade of Champions title.
I'm kind of hoping it happens. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of hoping it's going to make things very interesting for the final matches. We'll see, though. We're still so early on. 5th zone, closing around Foxy, Floodgates. Island in the zone currently. Could have quite a difficult end game coming here shortly. But so far for our top trios, a lot of shakeups have come through. Yapko Panzer said he had finally got that breakout match they were looking for here in day 2, making it a lot more comfortable.
Oh.
Nothing to worry about, though.
Okay. Sometimes you just... I was going to be surprised. I was
Gotta give
like,
it a second.
I swear that they've been getting way more active than that, but yeah, no, this team has definitely done an excellent job at tackling their search thresholds. But Veno, Vico, Flixie not too far behind from where Panzer, Yapko, and Seti are currently rotating through. And this is going to be tough with the way the zone is pulling, Takada, because anytime you get these natural elevation shifts, anytime it starts to pull a little bit more over that dam too, it gets very, very scary with teams trying to make it over the water as well as over some of those structures.
First Dash Swizzy have been on this island for a majority of the match so far, especially with kind of the success of those quick 3 eliminations on Trexer's trio earlier on. But unfortunately for them, the zone is going to pull away, and they no longer have the luxury of the island zone.
But they still have the perks of having overtaken the Rift Island in the first place. They'll already make their rotate to find a way to wrap around, stay out of sight, out of mind. Flixium, Izzy, Fozzy, they were trying to prevent catching the attention here from Vico, Veno, Flixie, but this is an experience, I think, for first-time finalist players. It's always important to kind of get your toes in the water and get a little bit of a taste of what a set lobby looks like in a finals like EU. But Vico, Veno, Flixie, probably so happy about getting that refresh. That was a lot of material and everything else they could possibly want for this dead side push.
Yeah, a quick lesson for the up-and-coming talent from Vico, Veno, and Flixie to what you're really up against. Going against the best of the best. Best way to improve. And now, with those 6 eliminations, they are more than set up to have a solid match here and get closer and closer to overthrowing that first place spot. But for some trios, it's more than just a solid performance on the leaderboard. It's a chance to compete at a global stage. And that's what Volko, Cringe, and Vidil are looking for.
Cutting it a little bit too close for comfort in more ways than one. Surge, not as healthy as they would like it to be. Go for a big creative play onto Artist, but Artist will barely manage to escape. And too many eyes on Cringe, now a victim of the lobby. Fortunately, he still got Volko and Vidil. Throw his body backwards, but Waves immediately tried to jump on the opportunity. Instead, Gabix getting shut down forward alongside his teammate. Gabix just gonna roll right through instead, but Volko, he's gonna be the main one to hold strong here. Maciak knows that this team is just to her, and Vidil will be the last man standing, trying to confirm this fight. That tree just getting in everybody's way at the same time. They lost Cringe, but Vidil, what a finish. He'll at least have Volko to try and play through this endgame with.
It's still doable, but I think an even bigger problem is the rotate they're gonna have to do late now. Quite literally the last trio that's gonna make it in. All eyes will be on them. Very unfortunate how it did end up, but you know, in the end, it's possible to do it as a duo. It's gonna be a lot more difficult, but at least they were able to pick up that last elimination. We'll see if they can continue forwards. Bevy's another trio kind of right on that borderline, trying to hold on. I see in Kidoi close by. Fastroki up as well.
And these teams, they're just looking to try and find a little bit of uncontested space towards that front side low. We've seen plenty of interchangeable moments towards the high ground in these final zone appearances that Fastroki, Bevies, and QUIERO, all they're looking to do is just create as much space as possible and then pull the teams behind them. Or take advantage of pre-edits playing through your back tart, but at least for right now, willing to sit tight. 355 above still. So not an immediate pressure rush necessarily on their damage metrics, but they want to stay out of the heat of the battle, and that's something that Seti, Yapko, and Panther find themselves kind of stuck between. Although they look to be on the winning ends of it, and Swizzy, Queasy, Mustache. Two different teams looking at them. They'll try to fall back, but I fear they're just getting lobbied at this point, Takada.
Threw Swizzy like a sacrifice there for a moment. Said, take out him, not me. Queasy, Mustache now left as a duo. This is a common occurrence for this trio. They are going down right before the moving zones. Right before it, when it matters most in terms of placement points, but they've got a high position. They've got a good amount of damage, and despite being a duo, they definitely have what it takes. One shot is all it took for Volca to go down as well. What a clean connect.
And it's not even just that. Vadil's now looking to try and play for the revive, but Vadil is underneath, just getting ticked away by Surge. The last small shield potion, the last med miss grenade. He does still have a med kit, and he's been bailed out at these final moments, but he's just too much on the cusp. He's trying to get ahead now. Surge is about to start ticking away at his life. But if he can find a little bit of breathing room, he might be able to pull something crazy together.
With the 6 metal boxes that he built, I think it's going to be enough to protect him for at least a few more seconds. Vico, Benno, Flixie now looking to get the performance they need to take that first place spot. The deal needs some tags, 4 above. Only a few minis and a med kit left.
Fake it till you make it, Vadil. He's playing as if he's not a solo. He doesn't really have any other options. He's trying to get ahead to see if he can find a big pump connection. A refresh would be everything right now from his current standing. Anything to get those additional placement points. But Vanya, Marius, Pixie, they're going to make that journey all the more difficult. They've got control of height right now, Takada, and they have max material, basically. Rags to riches kind of component here as Vadil ticked away once more by the Surge. He needs to find a shot. And he connects, but it's just not enough. He's just not healthy. And he goes down. Mustache, Queasy. Could be a different outcome entirely. Mid-ground. A little bit of a hold here. Kurama, Kiddo, X underneath. Gotta watch him make sure that those floors don't suddenly disappear.
Great job holding it out as a duo, though. No longer playing for hype, and Kiddo is gonna go down. Bevy's left alone. 10 builds, and it's all wood. As he's just 11 shields left, forced to pop a couple minis, but unfortunately, from down under, is gonna get eliminated. Marius, Pixie, Vanya, looking healthier than ever above. Vico, Benno, Flixie, choosing more of a mid-ground route here. Actually gets the knock onto iDrop. Parry Kami now put into a world of pressure as they've gotten a massive elimination, putting them 1,800 above, and now with Zone pulling back, they're gonna recycle that tarp.
Vika, Venno, Flixie, though, they want more than just to recycle their old builds. They want to take control of the front side of Zone. They beat everybody else to the punch, have a chance to heal up a little bit, and now they just look back, they control their backside target. They can play through 3 edits. They have so much space claimed, though, in this front side low position. Another team just ahead of them, CZB, Axe Force, Nathan, they don't know that these are their builds. Vika opens up with some big shots, and CZB will be the first to fall. Nathan now trying to see if he can escape the clutches of Vika, Venno, and Flixie, but it's just not enough here, Takada. It's so many eliminations already for this team.
They haven't even been hit. The chemistry is looking like an all-time high from Vico, Venno, Flixie. Yapko left alone, doing what he can to maintain that momentum from the previous win they just got in the last match, down to just a couple med mists, now has a bit of time to breathe in the zone. Pixie, Marius, Vanya still without a single ounce of pressure up above. Just raining down on the trios below them. Yapko now gonna make his way onto zone. Last med mist is gonna be used. Has to find the angle here. Kind of opening a path that he can later go through. I don't even know if he's gonna make it though. He might hear Akira behind him. An opportunity for a quick siphon, but without the connection, he's not gonna get it. Falls to zone.
Just doesn't make it in time. The lobby is so stifling right now for Queasy, who's just barely managed to go undetected from the team on high. Marius, Vanya, Pixie. This is going to be a battle of high versus low. Veno, Vico, Flixie. One of the few teams that could be in a realistic chance of overtaking the high ground, but with the way that Marius, Veno are currently in control, Pixie will get stopped though, and Vico, he's gonna barge right in with that knock. The elimination, siphon the materials, but more importantly, Vanya and Marius are now a duo in comparison to this trio. 9 eliminations, make it 11. Flixie just waiting to see whether it'll be Vanya or Marius who drops first. Marius loses all of his shields. Flixie doesn't have any either. Cammy now wanting to join the party though, and it's Vico, Veno. They're gonna pay the ultimate price with their lives. Marius and Vanya somehow, some way have managed to hold on to height. Cammy and Adi though, talk about a menace situation. They just ruined it for Veno, Vico, and Flixie. And now Cammy gonna try and ruin it for Marius on height, but he can't make it up. The misform doesn't take him high enough. Chicho, Adrius, and Tayson all the while. They might not have materials, but they have each other. And that could be the deciding outcome here. Vanya falling back, has a little bit of HP still left in the Chug Jug. Chicho, similar mentality. But Vanya, he's got nothing else left. He has to actually chase after Chicho, but they're just too far away. Chicho still has his misform too. Chicho's still getting tagged up from behind. Vanya might just be able to close the gap. Vanya makes it happen. Marius, Pixie, and Vanya steal this one away. What an upset.
You can't run. You can't hide. Vanya, Pixie, Marius closing it out, securing themselves a top 3 placement back on that leaderboard. They were waiting for the win to come through. They were so close throughout the day. They got a 2nd, they got a 6th, and now finally they've gotten the victory royale.
Sometimes it's just crazy enough until it works, and Vanya completely out of options. The only choice to be made in that instance, Takata, was to try and chase down that final elimination, at least keep them in the line of sight to apply that pressure. But the high ground hold here was so impressive. Maybe a slight bailout though from Cammy and Hadi, because they did kind of sandwich Veno, Vico, and Flixie in the process, but still, Marius had to keep his cool collected.
And that is exactly what he did, counting on Vanya in those last moments to chase Chicho down for the final pump shot. 24 HP is what he had left when he connected the shot, and that is definitely gonna boost them into the top 3. I'm excited to see how it's looking, but I'm more excited to see Frankie, Levin, and Minnie take it away.
Thank you very much, guys. That is the Vanya we have loved watching in FNCS for the past couple of years. It feels like despite their 4th place on the leaderboard going into Game 10, they've slightly been missing in action so far this major, but now we've seen them finally take a victory royale. It feels like order is restored, Mini Minor.
Yeah, it definitely does. This is a prime sort of Vanya, Pixie, Marius win. This is exactly how I expected them to play at the beginning of the weekend. I expected more of this sort of high ground domination, and wow, what a high ground domination it was. They kept reconnecting down below. Nobody could really even look up, and then they got so far into the game that then Vico, Veno, Flixie thought to look up as well, and they decided to spray them out. And again, they're a really good team at doing that, but Levin, they were able to just bat them away really effectively, and I think a couple of other trios definitely helped them in that push, but a huge win for these guys and a great push for them.
I love the drone shot there of their height, right? The connection points, just how solid it looks. Anybody looking up is thinking, yeah, no chance for us at all. This is what we've been waiting to see. Like you guys have both said so well, and a perfect time to see it, right? So many of their top competitors high up there in the leaderboards. didn't have quite the best of games. First place in particular for Doxy's trio had gone down, and so if there was ever going to be a time to push for a comeback, it was now. But even with that being said, I didn't think they were going to win this game. At the final moments, I'm looking down, and I sort of was getting ready to come in here and be like, hey man, Tayson with a win. Hey, big win for Tayson. But I guess these guys said, nah, don't count us out too early. Marius with some huge shots there. Vanya catching it with the perfect timing. I mean, you know, I know a lot of us in that situation might have missed that shot. You know, I know I would have missed that shot. So, you know, the best of the best, they don't miss in those situations, and that's exactly what Vanya is.
This is the key thing about this trio. Not only are they at their most comfortable in the high ground, they are also fighters, but can they fight for the top spot? We will see if they can continue with a back-to-back major win after the next couple of games. So let's go to a break and we'll go onwards with the tournament.
Clocks. Most unbothered things in the world. They don't rush. They don't skip ahead. They just wait and watch everything come back around. That's the difference between the timely and the timeless. Icons don't follow time. They set it.
Llegaron las ofertas del 8 del 8 a Mercado Libre. Aprovéchalas. Serum Eucerin por 150,000 pesos. Serum Nivea por 39,570 pesos. Y ofertas hasta del 50%. Este 8 del 8, grandes marcas, grandes descuentos. Mercado Libre.
Necesito buenas vibras en este momento.
Este lugar es increíble.
¡Olvidaste tus calzoncillos!
Lo adoro.
There are just 2 more games of the FNCS Europe competitive season, and they are going to be absolute bangers. Judging by how the gaps on the leaderboard are closing, it's very tough at the top. But it was a good showing for one of those contenders in the last game. Vico, Venno and Flixie, they managed 11 eliminations and a 5th place. And when they are making it to these end games 11, they do tend to be picking up a lot of names.
Look, very good game to close the gap even more. Potentially a missed opportunity, right? You know, you don't know how many of those games you're going to get where Chino and them do absolutely nothing. And so, you know, they want to maybe squeeze a bit more out of that game, right? That was a game I was, you know, hoping that they could win again to maybe take first place. Regardless of that though, Mini Miner, I know these next couple games are about to get freaky, man. So something crazy is gonna happen. It's just guaranteed. With how close it is now, I saw, you know, Fredoxy tweeting about needing free for off-spawn practice. I don't know what's gonna happen these next 2 games, but I know it's gonna blow my mind.
It's going to be exciting. It's going to be really, really exciting. But yeah, Vico and Flixi, they needed to have some sort of a solid game here. We were sort of speaking in the back whether they would have known that Fredoxy's team would have gone down, and they probably would have. So they knew they needed a solid game. Again, it's one of those sort of games where, as you mentioned, they could have done a little bit better, but it keeps them in it. It keeps them up on the top of the leaderboard. There's even a potential for Vanya, Pixie, and Marius to squeak in there as well. So we've still got a very, very close race at the top of the leaderboard. It's just about now, what's Fredoxy going to do? Is he going to continue that sort of W key? We're going to see a little bit more reserved game plan from them. Are they going to stick to what works? I'm not too sure yet.
There were difficult moments for quite a few of the trios in the top 10 in that last game. However, Tayson, Chicho, and Haris, they are constantly there at the end game right now, Mini Miner. It's no surprise to see them still in 5th position. They are definitely looking comfortable for global championships. I'm not so sure about them managing to make it to the #1 spot, however.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll be really happy with how they're doing today. Of course, they are already qualified from last major as well, so they already have that sort of, you know, flexibility, that little bit of freedom, right? But I think what I'm expecting from these guys is just more of the same. They seem to do really, really well when it comes to these end games, playing that low ground, as we mentioned before. And Chicho in particular has been clutching up so many points for this team, and the way that they were able to sort of stay alive as a trio here in the end game was really strong too. So they've been keeping up their 11. They've been keeping in that position.
Yeah, honestly, at this stage, I'm at the point with these guys where I'm very chuffed, right? You know, when you look at Tayson and sort of the year and a half he's had, there were a lot of washed allegations, you know? There was a lot of people saying he needs to pack it up. He's done, and now, you know, assuming they close it out similar to this position, you know, around that 5th spot, that's going to be 2 back-to-back majors where Tayson's had a good result, and that's, you know, a very good sign going into the global championships. It's good to see him, Haris, and Chicho performing.
But with that in mind as well, I mean, you could have said that about Seti and Cammy's trios. And I know that Cammy hasn't necessarily had the best finals here. He's definitely shown, though, that there is definitely skill there. But we've got to talk about Seti, because Seti is absolutely challenging for that top spot. Yes, he might not have the same firepower across the board as Fredoxy's trio, but it's been a really impressive showing so far, Levin.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been very impressive. It's been exciting. I can't wait for the excitement. None of us can wait for the excitement. And I mean, thinking in terms of the leaderboard, it's heating up, Taco. It's definitely heating up.
Things are definitely getting pretty crazy out there, Takata. Nobody is safe. Levin already mentioned it, but you got Fredoxy looking to get a little bit wicked on socials. And if this is how it's going to turn into an ultimate brawl fest between some of our top-end teams in EU, I am all for it, Takata, because what looked like it was going to be a 2-horse race has now opened up for a few other teams. So let's see what Game 11 has in store.
A lot is on the line here for these final 2 matches. Cammy's done a great job to push himself into currently the borderline, the cutoff to qualify to the global championship is 330 points. Mr. Savage, CZB, Nathan, these are 2 trios that are right below them, right below that cutoff. And if you look at the top end of the leaderboard, Fredoxy at 614 points, Vico Venoflixi 580, a lot closer now to that 1st place spot.
But one point of pressure that's definitely been a little bit alleviated is Outpost, Enclave, Vadil, Cringe, Volko, no longer being immediately 50-50 contested at this drop. And right now sitting just on the outskirts of the leaderboard. Takata heading into this lobby, they are in that 12th place position. So they're definitely not out of this fight just yet for globals. But some teams might be out of the lobby pretty early on here at Supernova Academy, because Pablo, Fredoxy, Chino, they've got company. And it's kind of odd to think that a team would want to take their chances, but sometimes you never know the way the cookie's gonna crumble.
I feel like they knew they were getting dropped on too with, you know, Fredoxy posted on socials 3 for 3 off spawn. Wanted to get a, you know, quick bit of practice in before it started. Looks like it was Robin, Kylie, and Co.
Chino's not convinced. He knows someone is lurking. And he's trying to out-lurk them. Fredoxy and Pablo can take care of the other affairs, but Chino's sick of the wait. He's ready to get a move on, get a little bit more involved. But Robin, silent as a mouse, just tucked away inside of the buildings at Supernova Academy, and Chino isn't careful. Could find himself getting knocked, and that would leave them in a pretty awkward position. But Robin as a solo, even if he gets one, he still has to deal with the other two.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's a battle from, you know, opposite ends of the leaderboard. It's almost been a blessing for Pablo, Fredoxy, and Chino. Some quick eliminations off the start. But the issue is, you know, you can get the good elims, but the whole point, the whole play style from Fredoxy, Chino, and Pablo is to be very quick in the early game and get out of there as fast as possible and start disrupting the players around you. So it is going to be tough that they can't do that anymore. Looks like for Cammy, Drop and Hari, though, huge start, especially considering the place they are right now in the standings. This is exactly what they wanted.
It's not only that, but it seems like that earlier, somewhat of a gentleman's agreement where both teams had initially been splitting Shining Span, and Cammy Hardy, they got sick of it. They're like, what are we giving these guys half our POI for? So early fights, early outcomes just mean more stealth opportunities. Foxy Floodgate could start getting a little bit of motion here from Maciak.